Good evening, Villa Park. Welcome to the June 10th, 2024 Village Board of Trustees meeting. I am Clerk Kornecki, and I will call the roll. Trustee Alfano.
Here.
Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar.
Here.
Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone. In the absence of President Kazone, I would like to ask that we appoint our longest-serving trustee, that is Kevin Patrick, to serve as President Pro Tem for this meeting. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Cordova? Thank you. Is there a second? Trustee Kumar? Thank you. Okay. Any comments or questions on that request? Okay, if there aren't any, I will call the roll for that appointment. Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, this motion carried. Trustee Patrick, would you take the chair and be our President Pro Tem for the meeting?
Good evening, everybody. Again, I'm Kevin Patrick. I am filling in for President Kazone. President Kazone and his wife are currently in Rome celebrating their 40th anniversary. So I'd like to wish him congratulations on that. If we can all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supreme Ruler of the universe, we reverently invoke thy blessing at this time. Wilt thou be pleased to grant that this meeting, thus begun in order, be conducted in peace and closed in harmony. Amen.
Amen.
All right. All right, let's get started here. First of all, do we have any amendments to the agenda? Nothing? Okay, moving along. Section 4, we've got public comments on agenda items. Is there, Clerk Kornecki, anybody signed up?
I have no one for the agenda items, no.
Okay. Anybody for agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move along to public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk Kornecki?
Yes, I have Mary Brunner Heinz, Fund Commission.
Hi, I'm Mary Brenner Hines from the Fund Commission, and I just wanted to do a quick overview of our cicada coloring contest. We had over 67 entries, and we have 3 winners from 3 different age groups. The first one is Bridie Bailey, age 6, and that's the 1 through 6 age group. And Luca Tucci is age 8, and he won for age 7 to 12. And Ella Hunka is 34 years old, and she went in the 13 to 221 year age group. So we were really excited. We had so many people, and I hope everybody got to go around to the businesses that showed the pictures. Jay Loren and Edward Jones, both Edward Jones, we got them both, and Chicago Wine Makers over on Park Avenue. What I wanted to really say is we are going to take all of the entrances and we're going to put them in a box down at the front of Village Hall, so anyone who wants to come and pick up, that wasn't a fantastic winner, that can come and pick up their entry if they want, and even if somebody wants us to come and flip through and see all the really, really cool entries that there were. So we say thanks everybody for joining in, and congratulations to the winners. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other comments on non-agenda items? None? All right, moving along. We do not have any proclamations tonight. We'll move into item 7, our presentation of the Fire Department promotion, Lieutenant Blaze Clarendon. Before we do that, though, we'd just like to say that I first met Blaze about 6 years ago at the Starbucks over on Roosevelt Road. And we were able to have some coffee and share some experiences and stories. And I've got to say that I'm really excited about tonight. One of the cool things about being in my position here is that you get to see people like Blaze grow and develop within their positions, and it's amazing to see how far he's come. And Blaze is truly a huge asset to Villa Park. So, without further ado, Chief Stapleton, can we get some new collar devices on this guy?
I hope so.
All right,
You say
let's
it's
do it.
okay. All right. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees and Manager Harline for your continued support for our fire department and letting us celebrate this huge event at a village board meeting. If you remember our last promotional ceremony, I talked about the traditions of the fire service. I talked about what the bugles mean, about what our badge signifies, and what our core values were: courage, honor, and commitment. Tonight, though, is a night of both celebration and reflection as we gather to recognize the promotion of firefighter Blaze Clarendon to the rank of fire lieutenant. A fire department lieutenant plays a crucial role in the organizational structure of a fire department. They are responsible for the first line supervision of the firefighters assigned to their shift. Lieutenants play a significant role in training and mentoring of these new firefighters. They help to develop their skills, knowledge, and ensure that they're ready to handle whatever emergency we're called for. The position requires a combination of leadership, technical expertise, and administrative skills. In a department with a lot of newer, less experienced personnel, a third of our department currently has little less than 1 year on the job, and that's not including the 3 brand-new hires we're hoping to hire in the future. The role of lieutenant is more important and mission-critical than ever before. Not to put any pressure on you, Blaze. Sorry about that. But speaking of Blaze, a little bit about Blaze Clarendon. Blaze joined our department March 12th, 2012. He's got numerous Office of the State Fire Marshal certifications and has been on numerous department committees. He's been a paramedic preceptor and a curriculum committee member. He's also a public education specialist, hazardous materials team member, training committee member. He's a peer fitness trainer. He's a juvenile fire setter interventionalist. He's also a union steward. He's on the Foreign Fire Insurance Board as a trustee. He's been on multiple vehicle design committees. He's also on our radio and dispatch technologies coordinator. And he's also a Secretary of State third-party driver safety certification holder. So he's basically trains the new guys to get their Class B non-CDL license. So Blaze is here with the support of his family. I'm going to let him talk about who's all here. But with that said, it is my true honor to ask firefighter Blaze Clarendon to come up to be sworn in as lieutenant for the Villa Park Fire Department.
Repeat after me. I, Blaze Clarendon,
I, Blaze Clarendon,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Fire Department,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Fire Department,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
the office of Fire Lieutenant
of the office of Fire Lieutenant
for the Village of Villa Park
for the Village of Villa Park
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
I'd like to welcome up Blaze's mom, Cheryl, who will be pinning on his new lieutenant badge. Now you have to talk.
I really want to thank the people that came out to support me tonight, the people that have been supporting me since I started. My family, my fiance, Katie, who has taught me how to have a separation from work, which is healthy. It's hard for firefighters sometimes. My mom and dad dragging me to firehouses all over the place when I was a little kid. My sister's always being super, super supportive of everything. Everyone that's here who's mentored me, taught me something, whether you've held a rank above me or below me, I've learned something from everybody. I really appreciate the people that are out here tonight, and I promise to work as hard as I can in this position. Thank you very much.
With the city,
Excuse me.
I guess.
I know where I go. Maybe. We're gonna squeeze it real tight. We're gonna pull the flag out real fast. You want me to take it? Oh yeah, that is good call. Squeeze in even more. Not everybody is. Wonderful. Sorry. This is the funniest part.
Moving along here, item 8, appointment to commissions. We don't have any this evening, so we're going to move along to the consent agenda. The bill listings for weeks of May 20, May 28, and June 3rd, 2024, in the amount of $1,211,062.76. With the approval of the minutes of May 20, 2024, the Village Board of Trustees meeting. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Corkery?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Kozar, thank you. Clerk Konecki?
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes. And moving along to number 10, the ordinance for first reading. This is an ordinance amending the Village Code, Section 5-104, keeping poultry, cattle, etc. This is the first reading of an ordinance that will make minor amendments to, oh, I apologize.
It's okay.
Manager
That's okay.
Harline.
That's okay. You go right ahead. This is the first reading of an ordinance that will make minor amendments to the Village Code, Section 5-104, and keeping poultry, cattle, etc. The primary reason for amending this section is to eliminate the maximum number of licenses allowed at one time, which is currently 50. Staff recommends passage of this ordinance after 2 readings. The Director of Community Economic Development, Mark McLaughlin, is here to answer any questions. Basically, we have all 50 licenses are given out. There's a waiting list, and we don't see a problem with expanding the number.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion by the board? Trustee Corkery?
I received an email about this today. I'm guessing a lot of the rest of the board did as well, asking that we consider raising the maximum number of hens allowed from 6 to 12. I was wondering if staff has any issue with this, if there's any way that might be a problem, if that's something we're willing to.
It's a question about increasing the number of hens allowed. So if you want to.
That is not a proposed amendment at this time, but staff doesn't have any issues with that on its face. Just as a note that anything we do obviously has repercussions to that. So all of the existing roosts were probably not designed initially for 12. So that may require upgrades and additional permitting in the future if someone wanted to go from their 4 to say 12. Completely accommodatable, but it's just one of those steps that they would have to do if they've had their hens since the initial program. But staff would be fine with that. It's just a shed permit, and we can inspect and get those enrolled.
And also that there are setback in size. I don't know if we'd want to look at if you'd need a larger yard or something if you went from 6 to 12. That's,
Yeah, right now, I would not dive into that now. It's already required to be in the rear yard. So I'm in favor of keeping that. But yeah, on a square footage per hen scenario, yeah, I want to get into it.
Any other comments? Trustee Kozar?
In terms of space, I mean, you don't really need all that much extra space for the 12 hens. A typical lot size in Villa Park certainly can accommodate that. I understand what you're saying. You know, with regard to the coop itself has to be big enough to house the chickens. So to Trustee Corkery's question, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I too got the same email, and I'm happy to read that email. Maybe that should have been done in hindsight during public comments. But the emails, it's only a couple paragraphs, if the board will allow me. So the email came from Khalid Sabri, who is a chicken permit holder in town. And he says, Dear Village of Villa Park Trustees, I'm writing to request an amendment to the ordinance 4388, which currently permits a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 6 hens on properties zoned and occupied for single-family residential use. I propose increasing the maximum number of hens allowed to 12. The original ordinance restricts residents to a maximum of 6 hens at any given time. However, the lifespan and egg-laying cycle of hens vary by breed. It typically takes at least 6 months for hens to mature and begin laying eggs. To ensure consistent egg production and compliance with the ordinance, it is necessary for residents to raise new chicks alongside older hens. This practice helps maintain a stable egg production cycle, contributing to a healthy lifestyle for families who rely on homegrown eggs. Allowing up to 12 hens would provide residents with the flexibility to manage their flocks more effectively. They could raise a few baby chicks in parallel with mature hens, ensuring a continuous supply of eggs without breaching the ordinance. I respectfully request the village trustees consider this amendment to support residents in maintaining a sustainable and healthy lifestyle through organic egg production. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Khalid. I would support that, going from 6 to 12, provided the coop is of requisite size and, the property can accommodate it. And then while I have the floor, I would also make a motion to waive the first reading. So 2 motions here. One is to go from 6 to 12. The other motion is to waive the first reading.
So you should
do
Do
those
the-
separately
okay.
and do the motion
To waive
to
first?
amend
Or-
first.
Okay. So, motion to amend from 6 hens to 12.
Do I hear a second? Trustee Kumar.
I'll second that.
Okay, Clerk Hornecki.
Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, so this is the, to raise
Do you want any
the number.
discussion?
Any comments beyond that?
This would be to raise the limit from 6 to 12 hens. Do you want to have, do you want further discussion?
Usually, it's common to ask if there's any more discussion.
Okay.
I don't know if there is.
Trustee
any.
Kumar?
Yeah, I'd like to say this was a good family-friendly aspect to our village, and I really favor this program. It brings a specific plus to the village of Villa Park. When this first came up with chickens in town, it's kind of nice to have a town that allows it. So if this is a salient point for our town, I'm okay as long as it's in someone else's backyard and they want to go from 6 to 12, the more the merrier, and that's fine as long as it also complies with the restrictions and regulations of our village and the needed space for such activity.
Okay. Trustee Alfano?
I also support going from 6 to 12. I don't know that everybody knows this, but I used to live on a farm until I was about 10 years old. And what the resident says is absolutely correct. That is how the life cycle kind of works. So it does make sense. Although I do know that this is in a rural area. I do believe that allowing our residents to have organic eggs versus having to go to the grocery store. There's just nothing like having a fresh egg versus having one that is bought at a grocery store. It's much different. But I do have one question, and it's a curiosity more than anything. Do we know how many people are on the waiting list for permits?
Yeah, after this year's license renewals, we're unable to issue 2. So between the people that fell off that we're able to get on, we have 2 sitting on a waiting list right now.
Thank you.
Trustee Kozar?
I'd just like to add a quick comment for anybody who does have chickens in town. If for any reason you want to get rid of your chickens, or you have too many, or there's an issue, even if you have a rooster, which you shouldn't have, you can always contact me. I have a farm that has chickens on it, and so I can absolutely take the chicken from you, and bring it somewhere more suitable. So I just don't want to see any animal be abused or anything like that. So just keep it in mind. Everybody knows where to find me, so shoot me an email. I'm happy to help.
Any other discussion? Okay, Clerk Hornecki?
Okay. Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes. And do we have a second to the motion for waiving the second reading?
So I think we have to make
You have
it.
to make that motion, right?
So,
Oh, I thought you already did. I apologize.
so I'll make a motion to waive the first reading and approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Trustee Cordova. So this is a motion to waive the second reading. Clerk Hornecki?
Waive the first reading.
Or waive the first reading?
Yes, waive the first reading and approve as amended. Okay, Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
And Trustee Patrick?
Yes. Okay, moving along. This is an ordinance to amend the Village Code, Section 2-2908, the powers and duties of the Community Fund Commission. Manager Harline.
I'm sorry? Oh,
Community Fund.
we haven't, you voted to, waive the first hearing. I don't think we've actually voted on, did we actually vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, we did, okay, all right, I thought I was with you, I thought we had skipped the actual
Approve it, I just wanted to.
approval of
give another
the
meeting.
ordinance, okay. All right,
Oh, well.
okay. This is an ordinance this ordinance would amend the Village Code, Chapter 2, Article, Roman numeral 29, Section 2-2908, concerning the powers and duties of the Community Fund, which stands for Focus on Unifying Neighbors Commission. The Fund Commission asked the Board of Trustees to consider adopting these changes, and staff was directed to draft this ordinance at the board meeting on the regular meeting of May 11th, 2024. Staff recommends adoption of the ordinance. This is the first reading.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none.
There, I would make one point that this addresses the powers and duties. It does not have the also requested change adoption of the mission statement. There's really no precedent that the board has reviewed policies and procedures of commissions before. You could do this by resolution. You could do it by motion. It's just a question of how you would memorialize a mission statement for a commission. It's not really, it's not in the code. It would be something that they would have to keep in their records. We don't really have or we could put it in the handbook. There isn't like a set of rules and regulations for commissions per se, but that, just making sure that you understand that the mission statement is not in this ordinance because that's about powers and duties, and it was decided not to add it to a separate section. So.
All right. So it looks like this will come back to us on a final reading, our next meeting, June 24th.
Unless somebody moves to waive first reading.
Trustee Alfano,
I would like to make a motion to waive the first reading.
is there a second? Trustee Kozar. Clerk Kornacki?
Okay, Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
No.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. Okay.
So this one you'll deal with separately and have a second motion to approve
Okay.
the ordinance.
Okay, so, but that will be on June 24th.
No, they just waived.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. Okay, so then do I have a motion to approve the ordinance? Trustee Corkery,
I'll make that motion.
second. Trustee Kozar? Clerk Kornacki?
Okay, no discussion?
Yeah, there should be discussion after we
discussion.
make the
Any
motion.
discussion?
I don't, but usually we do, right?
I do have one question.
Trustee Alfano.
Regarding the soliciting donations, either cash, goods, or services for the beautification and enhancement of the village. Manager Harline, how would that work if we had something that we would want to raise money for? Like, I know earlier we had talked about an art installation. I didn't know how that would work exactly. Maybe this isn't the exact time to have that conversation or discussion, but can we?
The Fund Commission that's been in the code for some time. There is a line item in the revenue side of the budget for tracking funds raised by the Fund Commission. They've done that for a couple of years.
Okay.
So
So they do not have to have the 501s, is it 501c3?
they can raise money and they're put towards projects of the
That
Fund
they do.
Commission.
Okay.
Yeah. The 501c, and we can talk about that
Sounds good.
separately. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, moving along. Clerk Kornacki?
Okay. Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. Okay, item 11A, this is an ordinance for a second reading. An ordinance amending the village code to prohibit the use of groundwater as potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells by any other means, method within the corporate limits of the Village of Villa Park. Manager Harlan.
This ordinance amends the village code to prohibit the use of groundwater as potable water supply by the installation or use of water wells for potable water or extracting potable water from groundwater by any other method within the corporate limits of the Village of Villa Park. This ordinance exempts properties who have such wells in the corporate limits in existence prior to the effective date of this section. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance. The ordinance also notes that the village will not use drill wells for potable potable water within the corporate limits. We closed our last well last fall, winter. I was trying to find the date when we sealed that well. As you guys kind of remember, we went through a somewhat lengthy process to get that done. So right at this point, the village has no active wells for water.
All right, do I have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kumar, second. Trustee Alfano. All right, Clerk Kornecki?
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Item 12, ordinances. Item 12A, an ordinance approving a special use for personal vehicle repair and maintenance, and a special use for a planned unit development for the property located at 231 East North Avenue. Manager Harline.
This ordinance approves petition PZ 24-06 for a special use for personal vehicle repair and maintenance, and a special use for a planned unit development within certain deviations as shown in Exhibit A, located at 231 East North Avenue for the proposed Bell Tire business. Planning and zoning recommended approval by a vote of 9-0, and if that doesn't ring a bell, 231 East North Avenue is currently the address of Strat's Restaurant.
Okay, do I have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kumar, second. Trustee Cordova, is there any discussion? Trustee Kumar?
I'm very happy to welcome Bell Tire to that location, and I hope everything goes smoothly.
Any other discussion? All right, Clerk Kornecki?
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. All right, moving along to 12B, an ordinance approving a license agreement between the Village of Villa Park and the property owners of 234 East Julia Drive. Manager Harline.
This ordinance would authorize the Gerwings to install a new fence along the eastern edge of the 30-foot wide village parcel, and the PIN number is included 06-15-119-04, to enclose the property at 234 East Julia Drive. The Gerwings previously had a fence across the village property located behind their residence at 234 East Julia Drive and are requesting to relocate the fence to the eastern edge. Staff has no objection to the residents' continued use of the property and the installation of the fence, and the license agreement will allow that without the village giving up the necessary uses of the easement for stormwater management.
All right, is there a motion for this ordinance? Trustee Kumar?
I will make that motion.
Thank you. A second? Trustee Kozar?
I'll second.
Second. And Clerk Kornecki? Oh, I apologize. Discussion, any discussion?
If you have any questions, Director of Public Works, Michael Guerra is here to answer any questions.
I actually do have a question. It's not that serious. It's more of just a general question. Are they replacing the fence that's already there with the same kind of fence? Is it a chain link fence? Is it a decorative one? Wood?
I believe they are, the existing fence is like closer to the side of their property, so they're moving it to the edge, kind of reconfiguring their fence. I believe it's like a two different types of fence. It's through the fencing permit. They're actually waiting their permit to be approved because they need a license agreement to do that.
Got it.
But I do think it's more of a decorative fence. I think the old one is kind of old and outdated and it needs to be refreshed. Did I answer?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, Clerk Kornecki?
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Excuse me.
All right. Moving along to item 13A under resolutions. Resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a contract with Martum Construction Incorporated of Elgin, Illinois, for construction of the Iowa and Vermont Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,494,535. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village president to execute a contract for the construction of the Iowa and Vermont Improvement Project. The project was publicly advertised and competitively bid. With a bid opening held on April 30, 2024, the village received 2 bids, with the lowest responsible bid submitted by Barnum Construction, Inc. of Elgin, Illinois, in the amount of $1,494,535. Staff recommends approval of the resolution to award the contract to Barnum Construction for the construction of the project. This is a part of a community development block grant project, and we are excited to get this moving. Director Guerra is here if you have any questions.
All right, do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kozar.
I'll make that motion.
All right, a second. Trustee Alfano.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? No discussion? Clerk Konecki.
Okay, Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. All right, moving along to item B, a resolution of Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving an engineering service agreement with V3 Companies Limited of Woodridge, Illinois, for Phase 3 construction engineering of the Iowa and Vermont Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $173,450.28. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village president to execute an agreement with V3 Companies Limited of Woodridge, Illinois, for Phase 3 construction engineering of the Iowa and Vermont Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $173,450.28. This project requires extensive oversight due to the community development block grant documentation requirements, and the proposed vendor has experience with CDBG projects. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Again, Director Guerra is here if you have any questions.
All right, do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Alfano.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. A second? Trustee Kozar?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Clerk Kornacki.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. Okay, moving along to item C is a resolution authorizing and approving the rules of order and procedures for the Village Board of Trustees. Manager Harline.
This resolution formally adopts the proposed rules of order and procedure of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Villa Park. The rules allow for amendments and provide for the ratification of those amendments every 2 years after each election and the installation of a new board. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. As the board probably remembers, we had a discussion about this, I believe it was on March 11th, and went over the proposals. Staff is prepared to make additional amendments if the board requests. There is one item that is not included in this resolution because it didn't really fit, but it was something that came up, and that had to do with a notice for the clerk for special meetings. We're looking into, that is specified that written notice has to be provided in state law, but it doesn't say the method, so I haven't had a chance really in the last couple of weeks to go over that with Attorney Wolf. But the rest of the discussion, I think I captured, and the elements that the board asked for and the changes the board asked for from the discussion in March. And I believe that it's ready for adoption, but if there are more amendments needed, I'd love to hear them.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kumar. Do I have a second? Trustee Corkery? And any discussion? Trustee Kumar.
There's a couple of things. There's the 3-minute rule and who monitors the 3-minute rule, staff or non-staff within this. And generally, I think our clerk has been doing the monitoring of the 3-minute rule. And I would like to continue to allow the clerk to do the 3-minute rule during our discussion. On top of that, I feel that if there is someone that wants to discuss something and the board, and I do not know how we will actually be able to do this, the board at large feels that they should continue their discussion because we find it informative in one way or form, I would like to allow for some methodology, which I I would like to table this for now so that we can actually think of the methodology that's non-intrusive to allow that person to continue. I still haven't come up with that. I've just read, what's in there, and that's somewhat concerning to me.
Would you like to make a motion to table?
I would like to make a motion to table it for now so that we could come back to this date certain, maybe in a month, so that we can figure out a methodology that would work for us and send it to you guys. There's a couple of things in there that need to be, that's one thing I would like to change.
Manager Harley?
So the board, as currently written, first of all, the 3 minutes are written into the code. The board has the ability to extend the amount of time simply by a motion. That's allowed for in the procedures as written. We certainly can underline that and make it more clear. I did specifically include a section here that the notice that somebody is approaching their time limit would be done in an unobtrusive manner. I thought that trying to come to the level of defining how we would do that was probably a little bit too, I mean, I think we need to be able to.
Also, the signaling from the board should be non-intrusive to let the person continue, because I know the train of thought can be lost, so that's what I'm trying to think through. I haven't materialized an easy way to do that.
Well, I think that's something that you kind of asked the staff to do. We were looking at a couple different options.
Yeah.
One of them, which was
maybe like, please let this person talk thing, to go on. My thing is some, I understand we have this 3-minute rule. A lot of times we can have this place full of people speaking, and that 3-minute rule allows us to efficiently conduct our business. But sometimes there is a concern that we might want full information from that, they get cut off, and we're not able to make good decisions based on that. So, and I agree that, just a lot of times we've shouted out, but it could be a little interventional to the speaker if we're shouting out, yes, let that person speak, I think they should speak, kind of thing. So that's my thing.
So the way to do that would be after the 3-minute, then ask you could just ask the chair to extend it, and if there's a majority of the board that would want to extend it, you could do that by a simple motion. And I mean, that would be the way that I see it happening.
Okay.
There is a way to suspend the
I'm
rule.
okay with that. That's one of the concerns I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Alfano?
Is it possible to have that written in here then as well? I know that in the draft, there was something after the second point here about the president may allow public comment, and then there was something about if we wanted to reinstate that, we could do a motion and a vote, but can we add something there about if we would like to extend their comment?
How to do that unobtrusively, you can just put it in.
And then I do also have a couple of other concerns.
How
I know
about
that-
time limits may be extended by a vote of 2/3 of the board after a motion is made and seconded? We could change that to,
Perfect.
yeah,
That
if that's in there that was in the original proposal. It's not, but if you'd rather that be just simple majority, we could make that change.
Yeah, that's good too, something like that.
And then I also had a couple of other items. I know that there is direction to commissions. Is that part also in the commission handbook as well? Is that information documented there so that they have the same information?
I don't know off the top of my head. I
Okay,
can say,
if
yeah.
we could just make sure that it's there so that we can,
Well, and it can be, and one of the things is to make sure that it is actually your policy first before we, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do take a little bit of issue with the recordings being made available within 2 weeks at a maximum. I think 2 weeks is a really long time to wait for recordings. I would want to make a motion to change that within 1 week.
Is this availability related for the board, may I ask, or?
Well, I think if it's going to be made available to the board, then it should also be made available to the public at the same time.
So a recording made available to the public would fall under FOIA, and we would follow the mandates of the timeline for FOIA. So
Okay.
it's usually a response to an initial request is 5 days with another 5-day extension, business day extension. So
Okay.
it's approximately 2 weeks. So anything that's related to the public, my recommendation is that you still follow the open meeting, or FOIA, the transparency law on the books.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Also, there is, under request for information, I have a page 7, or if you're following the packet, it's page 557. Under item 3, a request for information requires action at a meeting if it is expected to take more than 2 staff hours to complete, unless the village manager determines it is in the best interest of the village to complete it anyway. I would make a motion to add and the village president after village manager there, unless there's a reason legally why we could not.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand. Did you want and or? Because the village manager, this is an ask of staff,
Okay.
and the village manager in this, as written, is the one determining whether it's going to take more than 2 hours of staff time, or if there is a compelling interest to get it done, even if it's going to take more than 2 hours. If you say and village president, that makes it more difficult to
Kind of consensus.
well, it makes it more difficult for it to be move forward. If you're wanting to make it the village manager, I think what you're trying to say is village manager or village president, but I'm not trying to read your mind.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. My concern is that it's just taking people that we have now filling these roles, and just thinking ahead in the future to whomever might be in those roles.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a difficult time with just one person deciding, well, we're not going to share that information right now. So I would want somebody else to kind of have some sort of say in that.
So just to make sure we're understood, this isn't whether or not we share that information. This is whether or not we go ahead and do it before getting the idea is that to get the board to, if you're going to spend a lot of staff resources, to make sure it's a board decision, not just an individual trustee's decision.
Of some kind.
Yeah.
Not just one person's decision.
Right.
So not just the village manager's position or decision, but somebody else is having a conversation with the village manager. I would assume that would be the village president.
So if I could just add,
Yeah.
the village is a manager form of government.
Yeah.
And as such, the manager has the authority and direction over staff. As a policy, you could make it, if it requires additional time, it could be the policy of the board that the board wants to expend those funds and those resources for staff to do something. But to relinquish the authority of the manager with respect to how the staff is controlled and directed on a daily basis is a little tricky, and it's almost changing the form of government.
Sure, that makes
And
sense.
so I would recommend that authority be left with the manager solely with respect to the direction of staff, if it's determined that it takes too much time. And if it is, then it comes to the board for that policy decision.
So if Jack Corkery decided that we needed the staff should have mounted police because he enjoys riding a horse so much that he thinks the police department, I'm exaggerating to make a point.
that's cool.
And he says, I want a complete report on this, and it's going to take us like 3 days worth of time
Okay.
to do this report. I would say, hey, let's ask the whole board before we spend all this. That's the purpose of this.
Got it.
Now, so you can, the board can still say, do the report on a mounted police contingent. It says, I'm going to say, hey, let's ask the whole board before we spend all those resources to do that. If you want to, 2 hours, 3 hours, those are legitimate. Those are, I get that.
Yeah.
But this is just so that before one trustee, and thinking ahead, if you had a trustee who decided that they wanted to ask, lots and lots and lots of reports, we don't have that. I'm just making that clear. That they want to use a lot of staff time. At some point, it makes sense to say, hey, let's take some of the stuff to the board to make sure we're not. That's the purpose of that.
Okay.
And if you want to tweak it in some way, I had, just let me know. But it's not to prevent the board from getting information. It's just not to have one trustee ask the staff to do, large reports that are mostly of interest to them.
Okay.
So
That's
point-
not how I read it initially,
Yeah.
so thank you for explaining that.
Just a point of information.
Yeah.
Did trustee Kumar make a motion to table this?
Yes.
Then weren't we supposed to vote on that?
No,
And
not
then-
yet.
No?
Okay, so she was speaking of her intention that this should be postponed to a date certain, but her motion, there was never officially the motion made that was seconded. So if that's the board's intention to do
Yeah.
this, we'll accept an official motion to postpone it to a date certain, seconded.
Yeah, so right now, we have potentially 3 motions on the table. I'm going to start with trustee Kumar.
I am going to make a motion to table it.
Okay.
A date certain, because there are still issues to be worked out, I feel, amongst the board on this particular thing. Let's get it right when we get it done, is my opinion. Let's give it one more month. It's not going to change the world at this point. We're still working through some things. Do we continue on discussion if I've tabled it, or we have to stop the discussion
So if
if it gets tabled?
The appropriate motion should be to postpone to the date certain that you select, whatever meeting in July that you'll consider it. In the meantime, the board can give their comments to the manager to decipher through those and make those appropriate amendments, unless there are certain
yeah.
concerns. So I would suggest that you do a motion to postpone to either the first or second meeting in July, and so that would be the 8th or the 22nd.
I think the 8th is that's enough time. So I would like to make a motion to postpone the discussion on this item till July 8th.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Trustee Cordova? So we have a first and a second to postpone to a date certain of the 8th of July in a couple more meetings. Clerk Kornecki? Actually, do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I think. Okay.
See no discussion. Clerk Kornecki?
Okay, trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Patrick.
Yes. So then, Attorney Wolf, the other motions that were made by trustee Alfano, would that be then taking place during that July 8th meeting?
Yes, unless, in the meantime, if she provides those comments to the manager, and he may determine to implement those in what's presented before the board. But if amendments need to be made, they would be made at the July 8th
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, excellent. So that being said, we're moving along to item D, a resolution approving and ratifying the proposal of SB Friedman Development Advisors, LLC, for the development advisory services for the Village of Villa Park. Manager Harline.
Yes. The resolution approves and ratifies an agreement with SP Friedman LLC for development advisory services related to the St. Charles Corridor Tax Increment Financing District. The village seeks SP Friedman's assistance in the analysis and evaluation of development pro formas, forecasting property and sales tax revenues, and economic incentive negotiation support related to the proposed development in the TIF. Professional fees for services are based on time required at selling set billing rates, an amount not to exceed $19,500 without prior authorization. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, and we have we've worked with SB Freeman on the this is to evaluate the union proposal and some of the more complicated issues with the with the proposed financing of the Union project. And Attorney Wolf and Director of Community and Economic Development, Mark McLaughlin, are both here if you have any additional questions to ask.
All right, do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Corkery, do I have a second? Trustee Kumar, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Clerk Konecki?
Okay, Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes. All right, moving right along. Is there any unfinished business? Trustee Kozar?
I would like to have just a little bit of discussion on Ecoterra Hawthorne project. Would this be best suited to do under unfinished business or trustee report?
Unfinished business is appropriate.
Okay. So my understanding with Hawthorne right now is that they are getting very close to having a lender. And they have, there's a couple things they have to do prior to that lender closing on that larger loan that will give them the funds necessary to continue on with the project. So this is not up for a vote. This is discussion only. But I just wanted to kind of plant the seed and have the board think about what we're going to do when this does come before the board, which will probably be in the next agenda, so 2 weeks from now. So the steps will be, they show community development, Mark, essentially. Yes, we have a lender. This is what the lender requires. Part of what that lender requires is an RDA, which currently they don't have because the time frame lapsed on it. So we have to get them a new RDA if that's the route that we end up going. Then from there, they have to get certain financing from some other sources to bring to the table at the closing table. And then they will bring those funds, they will bring the new RDA, some other collateral items, and then they will close on their larger loan, construction loan. And then from there, they can start working. So my thought on this would be, given the challenges that we've had up to this point and the fact that, you know, we're trying to create something that is good for the long term in Villa Park, I'd like to see the idea of them getting a 90-day RDA with the ability to extend it for one additional 90 days, which will give them a total of 6 months. So 90 and 90. And if by that time they don't close on their final loan, for whatever reason, if it's their fault or anybody else's fault, there would be kind of an automatic termination clause within that RDA that we would not have to send out notices, there wouldn't have to be a waiting period. We've cut through all the red tape, so to speak, and on that final 90-day extension, if they don't get it done, that's it, and they're done. So we don't have to keep coming back and forth, back and forth. So that's my thought on it. I think 90 days is a reasonable time frame, and then, you know, not to give them a hurdle they can't overcome because they need 91 days. We give them the ability to do another 90 day, but they have to ask for it. So we're not just giving them 6 months to sit on their hands. So if that does come back in the next couple weeks, you know, I'd like the board to consider that and maybe ask those appropriate questions from now until the next 2 weeks to be fully informed when it does come before our board. So those are my thoughts on that.
Just a comment, also, a clarification, and your timeline will definitely be taken into account as we review the language of any updates that we make. But currently, there is an existing RDA that our redevelopment agreement has not expired.
Okay.
Or been terminated at that time. There are dates that have passed that renders the developer in default under the RDA.
Okay.
So what the board will be considering, potentially at this next meeting, will be amendments to that existing agreement that will extend certain deadlines and change some of the terms of the existing agreement. One of those terms being they have to have financing firmed up by a certain date. And so those provisions will have that 90-day with the 90-day extension and then automatic termination. We'll make sure we have firm language where if they default again on any of the various components, because there are still additional other components that they have to meet, we'll have firm language that will hopefully satisfy the board's concerns and no longer delay things going forward, but have an automatic result. But with respect to the financing, what I'm hearing from you is that, your recommendation is that we give 90 days with the opportunity for another 90-day extension if they need it, but they have to ask for it. And then if they fail to illustrate they have the financing, then it's terminated. The agreement with the developer is terminated.
Yeah, that is essentially my thoughts on it, with the caveat that in order for us to issue that initial extension then to the RDA, they have to be in line with the other financing that they need to get the larger financing. Essentially, there's equity at closing, there's developer equity, and then there's the CPACE loan that they're doing. So before I would be willing to say, okay, let's extend the RDA, I'd like to see them have those three in place, because they won't get their final construction loan if they don't have those three in place. So that's what I'm looking for. That would be a huge step towards success, showing that, after these last 2 years, yes, they can do it. They do have their ducks in a row, and they can move forward to the larger closing of the larger construction loan.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? Moving along. Any new business? Trustee Kumar.
I have a large concern, and I love a lot of things that have happened at Lufkin Park. Honestly, most of it I've been quite happy with. The track, the ninja course, the way the pier has been done, the bathrooms, all that is great. What is really concerning to me is the space that was created for our arts productions, our Shakespeare in the Park. It is not even close to what I sent in the beginning or what I imagined. And it is a little concerning because it seems like we've spent money on something that is not going to serve its major purpose. So I would like first, if Director Gola could come up here, and I have a couple of questions about that. Number one, how much have we spent
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, if you'd like to approach for the answer to the question.
on the current structure itself, just that structure that is created as a performance space?
I'll have to get you those figures. I do not have them readily available right now.
Okay.
What we,
Yeah, because I would like to know what the spending was on that, the time frame of the decision, why the decision was made to make the structure as it was. I know that there is a monetary concern. I just want a clear answer on all those questions, because as I said, the initial purpose was to run something like Shakespeare in the Park. What I saw personally cannot run Shakespeare in the Park there. It doesn't have even the minimal needs for running a production of that size. You would have to build completely around it. There's no dressing area. These are things that are minimally needed for running something like that. I understand the space was not created for some loud, band production. There's not enough space for that. That is understood. But this is a concern to me, and I want to see if there's something we can do as a board to fix it.
So the request is to bring back information of the
Bring back
current,
information so that we can think about what our options are and where we can go from there at this point. I wish I had known this till I saw it, but this is what I have to start with at this point.
back information on the band shell.
The band
particular.
shell, the cost of production of that, and, the cost that is entailed that they fixed. If you needed the side, if I could find out what it would cost to, retrofit
it.
it minimally to allow a production, I would suggest that before you get this information, you contact those who run productions, because that's very important to get that information. I am concerned. I was hoping for a little space that, this is what I envisioned. Maybe it was my mistake in not making that envisioning completely clear. But what I envisioned is a smaller space that, maybe a couple of kids could dance at, if we're having some kind of thing, or as I said, Shakespeare in the Park could take place. Quieter activities, because I realize there's a lot of houses around there. But some of those things to bring out, maybe, the orchestra, a few of the players could come and play their instruments there, something like that to draw crowds, but not, wild, boisterous activities. That was my envisionment. But what's out there is really, in my opinion, very minimal, and maybe you can do some prom photo shoots and things, but not much in terms of entertainment. So that is very concerning to me, given that's what the purpose of that space is.
Right. One of the thoughts too was to, similar to the productions over at the Rugard Gazebo, was to add more stage space on the bottom. That's a possibility that we can do. We are planning to do Super Sensational Saturday Mornings, which they have magicians, a sing-along, movies in the park. So there's some other activities that we will be doing. And what we've done, the process for when we were putting it together, everything was to get proposals on all the amenities. And so that means, how much is it going to cost to put the spray pad in, the different types of playgrounds. So that everything was coming in, and what can we afford?
No, the issue is not what can we afford, it's what do we prioritize? And the problem is that some of us prioritize something differently from others. And I understand that there's a cost effect, and maybe some of us wanted to prioritize this more than, some others, and maybe the village at large will disagree with me. That is a different question altogether. But that was never sent to the village at large, which is a little bit of a problem. And what we believed is that we could at least run Shakespeare in the Park there. That was my minimal consideration, and what I see absolutely cannot do that. And I don't know if you've had discussions with anybody with regards to that or not, but that's something that we need to kind of address overall. You should be able to minimally run something like Shakespeare in the Park, and maybe, a little, like 4 kids dancing on a stage kind of thing. That's not, this is not even set up for
I'll
that.
pull out the memo that we sent for the approval.
Okay.
We'll revisit the memo that was sent for the approval of all the amenities and the costs, so we can do that.
Yeah.
And I think the other issue is if there is something more specific that the board would like to see done, we're going to have to pursue. If we're gonna make any modification to the stage or that in the area, that's going to require some more process. What we could afford and what could be done within the parameters, staff made some decisions. Obviously, I get that that's not what you wanted, and I know that early on in the process, it was discovered that the size and the amount of dressing space that that particular organization, Shakespeare in the Park, wanted was going to be difficult to accommodate with the budget and what we had. What to do at that point, if the staff made a mistake and should have brought it back and stopped the process and delayed the project on Lufkin Park, that's perfectly, that's the point you're making now. We can review that. But we were already $300,000 over budget on that project. So, I think there's some interest in trying to keep this, because that $300,000 is our money.
The issue is not this. The issue is, do we put in anything at that point? Or do we wait to put in the right thing at that point, Matt? So at that point, rather than just, this is the problem that we have in general. We tend to just do something and go head on. Okay, we're satisfying this condition, but you're not satisfying anybody's condition by putting a minimal thing there, because it's not a real usable space. It doesn't satisfy the purpose, so you might as well not do it. We could have saved whatever money we spent on that and left it flat and thought about a future. Now you have to take down something you already put money into. So we need to think of retrofitting at this point. That's the only.
We can look at it expanding.
Yeah,
There
expand.
is a time frame. We couldn't just, postpone it, because there is a time frame with the grant. that we
Okay,
need to-
so
We can
we-
always ask for an extension, but there's a possibility of expanding and putting some sides on and getting.
And
some changing
sides
rooms.
and dressing, at least we need to have what I think, that we do not need to have the whole thing done necessarily, because that's not going to happen, honestly. I understand that. But we need to have a plan for what can be done. So, and that should come from our architect, what can be done to satisfy these conditions.
We can investigate that.
So,
Yeah.
can I, please? So we had three community, I'm sorry. Yeah. There you go.
Trustee Cordova, go ahead.
We had 3 community input meetings, and in those 3 community input meetings, I ran 2 of them. The last one, someone said something about building a band shell up there. Never a full production theater for outdoor. I don't know where you think the people are going to park to go there, or anything. Having a full blown, what's the cast member size for Shakespeare in the Park? Is it 10? Is it 40? Is it 30? I'm asking.
20 people.
20?
Yeah, and they've been running it at the gazebo.
Is it not big enough, or is that what's?
It's not set up for anything. So it made sense that for something like that, it's not a real big, it's not, you're not doing Hamilton. You're doing Shakespeare in the Park.
I don't know either of those.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
at that.
so it's something that they've run it. The Villa Park knows how to do it. We've been doing it for 2 years. They've run it at the gazebo. They realize that you need the space. It's not that,
We had renderings, we had meetings here. This was.
yeah, I was at those meetings, right? I was the one
So
kind of pushing.
where
I
was the
sent
miss?
pictures.
Where was the miss? Yeah.
I sent pictures. The miss is somewhere. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where is the miss? I'm asking the same question you are.
No, I'm saying. But
I-
there were
I don't
pictures.
think
There were
it-
pictures up here. Like there were pictures.
So
of how big it was going to get.
I was also a part of those discussions and attending those meetings as well. And being on the board at that time, it was a general idea or consensus that that space would be utilized for productions like Shakespeare in the Park. Now, what I will say is Shakespeare in the Park has been awesome for Villa Park. It is a great way that we can support the arts. Shakespeare in the Park is a valuable asset to us, especially moving forward. And I agree with Trustee Kumar, is that we have to think about how we best utilize that space and how we can accommodate that. And I think what we have to come up with is further discussion on this topic, so that way we could look to see how we could accommodate something like Shakespeare in the Park, because people will come. They have come. Director Gola had mentioned, is that traditionally they've been using the Rugar gazebo right off the Prairie Path. And even that was a little tight for some of their productions. But we have the space to make modifications or whatnot. And like I said, when I was on the board at that time, that was the general idea of what we are thinking about on how to utilize that space. So I also would like to see moving forward some discussion on how we could utilize that space a little bit better, how we might be able to make accommodations, retrofitting, or what have you. So I would also like to see that as a future topic of discussion that continues. Trustee Alfano.
I do have a question. If we're talking about Shakespeare in the Park, do we know if we have Shakespeare in the Park going on this summer?
They'll be doing Into the Woods this summer. They're doing it at Willowbrook High School just because of all the construction going on about the Rugard Gazebo. It didn't seem like a good year to be doing a play there. It's probably going to be pretty busy and pretty loud. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure if they had a usable venue, they'd be open to doing it again. I gotta agree with the other trustees. I don't think that the current bandshell stage site is sufficient for anything like that. Unfortunately, I'm very happy with everything else that's going in at Lufkin, but that particular facility, just, I don't see it being useful for very much. So I'd be very open to talking about expanding it or retrofitting it or something else like that.
Trustee Alfano.
I think that one of the things that Trustee Kumar said kind of struck a chord with me, and that was, what do we prioritize? And while I understand that not everybody has the same priority, I do want to make sure that we understand that it is parks and recreation. So we do have parks and we have recreation. And when we look at what recreation means, it does not always mean sports. And it does not always mean that physical activity portion. And I do think that the arts are really valuable here. And I think if we've already started that and we've committed to that, then it kind of feels like we have a very small group of people who are starting to maybe take that priority for some and say, well, it's not that important. And arts can be, as you mentioned, Trustee Patrick, it can be something that is vital to it can be an economic driver to a community, for sure. So I really do hope that as we move forward in this conversation, we do have that focus on arts just as well as we do with athletics, and we do with pickleball, and we have with everything else, because these are the things that people pay, in the future. Take a look at what it costs to go to a live theater production. It is not cheap. And then people go out to dinner. Like, these are the things that people come to see. And if it's their kids and if it's their family, then yeah, they're going to come, they're going to go to dinner, they're going to spend some money here.
Trustee Cordova.
So yes, arts, wonderful. This past week, and this was part of my trustee comments, was going to be talking about how much of a success the concert at Cortese was last week. Big stage, a whole little house back there where you can have 100 people in there changing. We'll never get that much size, I don't think, without building a new structure in Villa Park. I would say if you want to do arts, that's a huge stage and you have a privacy in the back there. That is a wonderful, wonderful spot. I can't remember how many people. I tried to do like a clump of like 20 people at a time. There was over 150, 200 something people there this past weekend, and that was the first one. There's another one this Thursday, which I'll talk about, but I don't know, and this is maybe my fault for not really being in the arts and going to plays outside of what I'm forced to do. But that would be a wonderful spot. You could put 100 people out there, you could put 400 people out there without anything. It brings economic vitality to that space because there are actually restaurants. There are bars, there's food places, there's places where you can go buy things. And I saw that. I don't know if anyone has thought about doing arts and plays in Shakespeare the Park or Hamilton or Hamlet, whatever it is, at there, but that would be the best spot to be outside with a big stage.
I think one of the important parts of the arts, as well as Villa Park in general, is that we have many locations in Villa Park in which we can hold these activities. And I think that's one of the things that we have to think about as well, to your point, Trustee Cordova, is that we have to look at how we could best utilize all of our spaces for everything. And that doesn't mean just limiting Shakespeare to the Park to one venue, but thinking outside of the box on how we could use some of these spaces to further enhance our community. I mean, there's so much potential out there for the spaces that we have right now. Lufkin Park kind of reminds me of, if we had Shakespeare in the Park over there, it kind of reminds me of a mini Renaissance fair, or an atmosphere in there where it's open, it's within nature. So we have plenty of possibilities. We have plenty of locations that we could talk about this. And I think this is a great discussion that we should continue moving forward with. Trustee Corkery.
I would just add, the space at Cortese Park is very nice. However, because a street runs through it, it's difficult for non-village actors to use it as a space, just because you need to close the street to have a performance there. You need to have police come out and manage traffic while the street is closed. It is a good space. I wish it was easier to use, but unfortunately, because of the way it's laid out, it's fairly difficult to set up a performance there.
And to your point, I think each site location comes with its own, challenges or benefits. And so that's what needs to be considered when putting on those performances there. But again, we do have plenty of great spaces in Villa Park to promote the arts and continue with this discussion.
And just to make sure that the discussion, as I understand it, is to look at there is a band shell built that will accommodate many of the programs that Parks and Recreation wants to do, but it was discovered during the process, the budget, et cetera, that we could not build it to accommodate a particular venue, which we had hoped to move there, which was the Shakespeare in the Park. So we will get more information on the size and the cost of the rugged, the band shell. I went to last year's Shakespeare in the Park, and I don't know, I think being inside would be kind of nice with grease paint on in August, but that's
it's
not.
better if you do it at night. It's what we learned last year.
Yes. Yeah, I was there during one of the day productions, but
Yeah.
but
You gotta wait till the sun goes.
it was a really wonderful production, and it was a great community theater. It really isn't a competition for the professional performance of Hamilton Downtown, but having seen it in the Richard Rogers Theater, you don't need a tremendous amount of space, but you do need a lot of equipment to put on Hamilton. But so I think the question is, can we adapt that? One of the other things was the space for costumes and dressing, and that was, I don't know that was ever, that increases the footprint of that, and that increases the need. There's a separate building at Rugard, is that how it's pronounced? Rugard Pavilion. Of course, they also, the Kiwanians were, there was getting the stage set up while there were still the Kiwanis concerts, and so there was, we're not going to build a theater for the Shakespeare in the Park. I think that's understood. So the question is, where are we now, and what modifications would be needed to make this something where you could have larger productions? And the other part of that is, what are the larger productions other than Shakespeare in the Park? And remember that there is a community right next door that did not want pickleball because of the amount of noise pickleball would create. Right. And I am not, and that is a serious part of the discussion. And Trustee Cordova and members of the Parks and Recreation staff can let that known. But, so we have to keep those things in balance, and that's what the staff was trying to do. If we missed, we'll work on fixing it.
Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, dressing spaces, minimal requirement. It doesn't matter if you run a small production or a big production, you shouldn't have to be dressing outside, because I'm thinking just your little ballet kids stomping across the stage, knowing if I had my daughter, I would not want her changing her clothes outside, right? So you need minimal dressing space, and it's not a whole lot of storage that they were using. Honestly, they built the whole stage out, and they built everything out and brought it from Willowbrook over there, right? So, because Nirja was a part of those productions, I kind of have some good insider information on that. But it's not only Shakespeare in the Park we're talking about. We're talking about building a space that we can use in the long run for the public of Villa Park, which will provide some sort of delicate, friendly, free entertainment possibilities. And this band shell that we put there is not really sustaining that except for puppet shows and very minimal entertainment. So that's my problem with it.
One quick thing that I would like to request of village manager and maybe Director Howard and Director Gola is that I believe it was in 2019, the village approved the cannabis sales tax, and 1% of that goes to parks and recreation. If we could maybe get together and maybe formulate ideas on how we could utilize some of that income coming from that tax to potentially make any types of retrofits or any additions to that bandstand. And again, this is just for ideas, brainstorming, so that way we don't close the door on this idea and that we keep these ideas moving forward. I know that financing is an issue, budgeting, and I understand that, but we did set this up so that way 1% of that cannabis sales revenue does go towards Parks and Rec, and I think that would be a good opportunity to find some of that money to go towards maybe those areas where we don't have something budgeted for. Trustee Kumar.
And if you have a budget for what is necessary and retrofitted and a plan coming from whichever venue gives you that plan, then we could also think of some fundraising or other possibilities to make it happen. At this point, without that information, we're kind of have no way to proceed. And I realize that the budget is short. So it's just, this is what we have, but let's make it work.
Excellent. Is there any other new business? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. We do not have any village commissioner reports, I don't believe. So we will go to the village clerk's report.
Okay, just one item. The Senior Concerns Commission will be providing lunch for the SALT meeting, and that is scheduled on Tuesday, June 18, at the Iowa Community Center. The program starts at 11, and then the lunch will be provided for the seniors at noon. So everybody, all seniors are welcome, and it should be a very interesting program and luncheon. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we'll move along to village trustee reports. I'll start on my left. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I wanted to congratulate our newest lieutenant, Lieutenant Clarendon, on tonight's promotion. These are the moments that I look forward to. They're the highlight here, and I think that they just highlight what are best here in Villa Park. I attended yesterday's Fun Commission's Kites and Kicks event. They had beautiful weather. We had enough breeze to get some kites flying, and there were some families that got some kites up pretty high. There was a great turnout. We had DJ and Commissioner Dave. He provided our tunes. The commission provided ice cream and snacks. There was a face painter, and then we also provided the kites. Although a lot of people brought their own, so this is starting to become an event that people are looking forward to. There were a couple of kickball games that were scheduled as well as people came and left. There was a nice group of people that kind of flowed throughout the time that it was going on. And there was just lots of community and lots of neighborly smiles and laughs. And it was really a nice event to go to. So thanks for everyone who came out. And I wanted to thank the Villa Park Library staff for coming out on a Sunday. They came out, they had swag bags for the kids, and they had some games that they could play and brought information on their summer reading program. So thanks for partnering with the Fun Commission on that. I wanted to congratulate the Mariners on a great start to their season. They won the June 5th meet, 339 to 146, and they improved last year with less DQs this year than they've ever had. So that is because of our coaching staff. They are really starting to identify those areas that need improvement, and they're working with our swimmers to get them to improve and to improve so quickly. So thank you to them, and thank you to our Parks and Rec for supporting that. And also last night, Parks and Rec and again, the Villa Park Library and Mariners Parent Board, they hosted the Flick and Float event at Jefferson Pool. It was cold, but that didn't stop the kids from jumping in the pool anyway, because I was told it was really warm and heated. So thanks again, Parks and Rec, for making sure that happened. They enjoyed playing in the pool and watching Shark's Tale at the same time. I wanted to also recognize Riley Pillar, our communications specialist. I have received so much positive feedback for all of the graphics and information that she's putting out on social media. And folks are really seeming to engage with all of that information she's putting out. I know she was here this evening taking pictures, and I know she has not been with us for that long. So she really is making a huge impact in the short amount of time that she's been with us. So I just wanted to recognize her for that work, because I know that's not an easy job, and there's constantly something going on that she is covering. So thank you, Riley, for that. And then lastly, I hope to see everybody at Summerfest, or Summer Festival.
Yeah,
on June 22nd.
Gonna get us in
from
trouble
11
there.
a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Thank you, that's all I have.
I did see another city using the word Summerfest, and for a second I thought about turning them in.
They'll figure it out.
Nah, it's not. That'd be bitter.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes, I can't, I'm not going to say much. I've been talking all meeting long, but I am going to say that I'd like to see people at Summerfest and kudos, Summer Festival. Because we're having a little bit of diversity there with the food trucks, which I'm very happy about. And I hope that they will continue to address the diversity issues with entertainment, food, and so on and so forth in the forthcoming year. I already brought this up with Parks and Rec, and they've been great at kind of addressing or thinking about these things. I got a lot of positive feedback from members of Parks and Rec on that. So thank you for being there on that, and kudos to Riley for getting out all this information in such a eminently fast manner that even someone who's not great with their phone can actually get, when the timings are, when things are happening in Villa Park, and enjoy all the activities we have around here.
All right. Trustee Corkery.
No report this week.
All right, on my right. Trustee Cordova.
Yeah, just another shout out to Parks and Rec, Public Works, Fire, as well as Police. That petty cash that Thursday night, I got a chance to go over there, and it was packed. There were kids playing everywhere. They had they had ice cream everywhere. It was just a perfect night. So thank you to everyone, number one. Number two, there is another one this week, Merle Music on June 13th at Cortesia at 318 East Kenilworth. Concessions open at 6 o'clock, and then the concerts begin at 6:30. If you haven't been there, it is a great time, and you get to see all your neighbors, and it is just a really, really great time. So that's it.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
No report tonight. Thank you.
All right. I'll finish up the trustees' report with a couple of things. First of all, I also would like to congratulate our newest fire lieutenant. Blaze, if you're out there, again, congratulations, well deserved. Thank you. Also, I would like to congratulate President Nick Cazone and his wife on their 40th wedding anniversary. That's huge, and they are in Rome. How cool is that? So congratulations, President Cazone and your wife. Moving along, summer is here. We're getting into full swing of things, and piggybacking on what Trustee Cordova said is that concerts in the park, those are awesome, and I want to just congratulate staff or recognize staff for such a great selection. Chicago's own Piano Man is coming out too as well. These are all great acts, great times out there. So get out there and see those. Stay safe this summer. Summer Festival is June 22nd on Saturday. Some of us will be out there. Come talk with us, greet us, tell us what's going on, how things are going. We'd love to see you, love to hear from you. Summerfest is a tradition we've been doing for quite a while. It's awesome. It's a good time to enjoy the community and get out there and see some things and meet some people. Also, soon, next month, the VFW will be hosting the Villa Park's 4th of July Parade. That's another event that's pretty special coming out there. few minor things with the parade route are going to be changed. Nothing major, but again, 4th of July parade is a great time to come out and celebrate our independence with the VFW there. Let's see, what else do I have? Again, thank you to our first responders out there on the daily, keeping us safe and protected at home. So thank you for all of that. I have nothing else, so we will skip the village presence report and move right along to the village manager's report.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm going to just out you a little bit. The way we got the Piano Man on our list of bands was, I think you knew them and suggested them. That was a good suggestion. They did a great job last year, and they'll be back. So
That's Nick Syke Hodges. He is Chicago's own piano man, and he has a huge following. And last year was his first performance here in Villa Park, and it was very well accepted. So again, get out there. It's a great time.
So thank you for that. As mentioned earlier in the meeting, tours of the Recreation Center with W.B. Olson will be available. We'll set out some times to do meetings with them. We can do a couple on the same day. We can get you out there and get you on site so you can have a feel for what's being done. And if issues come up, you will have been on site and see what's going on there. Although it's gone, knock on wood, pretty smoothly over the last several months. I just wanted to let you know that Stratz, or actually it was the owner of Stratz, was found liable for 2 violations on separate days for the failure to obtain a special event permit, one for March 30th, and the other was for the event on April 13th. These were decided in adjudication court, and the fine issued was $750 on both tickets. And so we are enforcing the law that you guys have passed, and it is being and there's having an effect, I hope. Although this last weekend there was some activity out there. There have been several weekends, whether it's just the cold weather that has been not as well attended, which is okay. Of course, tonight we also took some steps towards helping the next purchaser, the contract purchaser, moved forward towards redeveloping that property. If you guys have some edits if you could specify some edits to the rules and procedures, if you could email those to me so that we can get that ahead of time, that would be fantastic. I think I know what you guys asked for, and I may email that out to you to make sure we get this wrapped up. We will be having, and if you would like to hand out candy at the July 4th parade, let me know. Okay.
I will be one of those people.
You
who
will do it
July-
this year.
Yeah, this
Okay.
year I will
Okay.
hand out candy. July
Okay.
5th, I'm out, but July 4th, I'm good.
Your July 4th, you'll be, okay. And that is now recorded on live. And I believe
You know
Cordova.
what? Get the information out. I'm very transparent.
That's right. Trustee Cordova, if you'll avoid any frozen food the day before the, I don't know.
Throwing a bunch of frozen apple at children.
I think you dropped a steak on your foot last year. Yeah. It wasn't. Anyway, so last year, I know that Trustee Patrick is always working on the video, and Trustee Alfano was there, and Trustee Corky showed up. But we would love to have you there. Last year was me and President Cazone, and I was pretty beat by the end of the event. And then we're looking at a possibility of doing a ribbon cutting on the Tri-Trail. It will be probably in July. A large portion of the trail has been paved. There is some work in tidying up around there. The project will not be absolutely completed until the fall because there's some tree planting to be done, and we will suspend the project and then do the tree planting in the fall, but I don't know if you guys, I imagine most of you have seen that. I think that's going to be a great addition to, you know, a unique feature of Villa Park is that we have three very attractive trails, two of which cover many, many miles, and then the Salt Creek Greenway, which is also a lovely trail. And this project brings them all together into our old villa downtown area. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Moving along to item 21, executive session. We do have executive session tonight. Before we do, I just want to take a moment to thank the board for allowing me the opportunity to fill in for President Cazone in his absence. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. So moving along, pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2 C11 regarding litigation when action against affecting or on behalf of the village has filed and is pending before a court, or when the village finds that an action is probable or imminent. There we go, I got it out. So I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session. Trustee Alfano,
I'll make that motion.
second. Trustee Kumar. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, is that a roll call?
Roll call.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Okay, Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
And Trustee Patrick.
Yes, and we will adjourn into executive session. Our next stated meeting is June 24th at 7 p.m. Thank you.